Hey all, Hipper here. So today I present to you a build that's actually really old. It's one of the first Agile destroyer builds I did, and of course it's Ru with a Sure Lane Baltimore and Arpeggio Takao, and it's pretty much an Agile cruiser setup. Basically, you have engineers, full speed ahead. Of course the cruiser speed's not going to do you any good, and then Velocious, but you can also pick the go all out if you want to at least have the opportunity to have a lower detection radius. Other than that, it's fully packed and the usual stuff. So all rudder and speed pretty much. So we have the traverse upgrade here, steering gears, and gives us 3 engine boosts. It's only 8% though, so it's not that amazing, but it's alright. So a 0.9 rudder here, but it's still quite a turning circle radius. But it means that you can wiggle really well in this ship here, but turning is still a bit of a problem. And of course the detectability is horrible at 6.7. But this thing doesn't have smoke anyway, so in my mind this build actually works quite well on the Terrible, because you can just dodge, to put it in, wargaming words, I guess. I haven't played Le Terrible for a long time, so I think I actually sold the ship, and then I got it back in a crate for Christmas, and then I realized at some point today that, oh, I have it back, maybe I should, put my good old Agile build back on it and see how it does, because it's been at least a year since I took this ship out, probably longer than that, much longer than that, I'm guessing. So you can see here with the speed boost we can just reach 50 knots, meaning that we are sure to enter the cap before anyone else can even think about getting in there. And then it doesn't really matter that your concealment is horrible, because no one's in really a position to spot you anyway. So I want to shoot at this Weimar here, so that's why I'm just ducking in behind the island. But I could have just stayed out there and capped. But obviously I'm going to cap, and after capping I am going to move on, basically, because I don't have smoke in this ship here. So your only defense is to keep moving, basically, and that's why I also go all out on rudder and speed on this ship here. So you've got a ship that goes 50 knots with 0.9 second rudder, and like I said, that gives you some serious wiggling potential. Actually quite amazing when you think about it. And of course, if you don't want to go full rudder, you can still put the concealment upgrade on. You should get your concealment down to around probably somewhere in the 5s, and then if you add the go all out perk, you can get the concealment down to a more respectable 4 point something, if you really want to do that. Of course, you give up the 0.9 rudder, but for some people that's a trade, like a pretty good trade. For me, I don't think so. I like that fast rudder, and it's what makes this build fun, I think, because you can really guide very well in this thing here, and you have to, because without smoke, it's kind of, you can't really play this as a traditional destroyer. You have to be a little bit creative. And if you know this channel and you know me, then you also know that I'll put an Agile build on any ship where it works just marginally well. And destroyers where I do this, includes Terrible, Fantask, and Tashkent and Khabarovsk. So all the really fast maneuverable destroyers, they can do well with an Agile build. Of course, you have to be a little bit careful, because you cannot play it as a normal destroyer. You have to, like here, you have to wiggle and pretty much play it as a cruiser, which is why there is a cruiser commander on this ship here. And you also have to get used to the fact that your concealment is 6.7 kilometers, and it's difficult, but it's not impossible. And as you can see, if you just keep at a reasonable distance, you are still able to put the hurt on the enemies, because it's really hard to hit a destroyer going 50 knots at 8 kilometers with a 0.9 second rudder, except if you manage to ground it on an island like I did here. But we actually turn out to do pretty well here. And of course, another thing you have to be aware of with this build here is that if your engine gets knocked out, you can only fix it by using your damage con. Of course, the cruiser commanders, they don't come with the built-in legendary perk that lets you continue going when your engine is out. So obviously only save your damage con for when your engine cuts out. That's it. Don't use it for anything else, because you never know. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind when you're playing this ship here with an agile build. So this is a situation here where Terrible does really well, because this other destroyer here is running away, and obviously there is absolutely no way he can outrun me at close to 50 knots here. And the guns are exceptional on Terrible, and the torpedoes are very good as well. You have 3 launchers, and you can fire 2 on one side, and then you have an extra spare one on the other side, which is actually very handy because it stops me from shooting all 3 launchers off to one side, and it pretty much means that you always have a bunch of torpedoes in reserve. And for someone who spams a little bit, like a few more torpedoes than he probably should, which I do, that's a very good built-in safety net. So we have chased down this lightning here, and he is going into hiding, but obviously he's in a pretty bad situation here because there's another cruiser behind me. So I'm just going to continue and flush him out, and then hopefully that Odin there will be taken care of by someone else. And I am well aware of the torpedoes that are going to come here, but with a 0.9 rudder, yeah, it's hard to torp a Terrible if you know the torps are coming, even without sonar.
Engine boost deactivated.
Another good thing about Terrible and the fact that it has no smoke is that you are always spotting. Well, except if you are hiding behind an island, but if you just capping and contesting and looking out for other destroyers, you are always spotting because you don't have smoke to sit in. So really, spotting just comes naturally for this ship here. So that's the end of that destroyer, and then we get a little bit lucky here on the other side of the smoke, because it turns out that someone didn't like their ganja, or what is it? It's called ganja moda, whatever it's called, because it pops up right here, and he looks AFK. So we're just gonna give him a wide spread and then move on. So yes, this is lucky and doesn't really have anything to do with the agile build, but still, it is a destroyer kill, and that's what we like.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer. Our victory is in sight.
I am actually thinking of using this ship here for tier 6 ranked, just to see how it actually does, because in my mind I think it would do pretty well, because the concealment problem isn't really much of a problem when you're only facing one other ship, and you can chase down anyone and pretty much outgun any destroyer you meet. And of course you have plenty of torpedoes for battleships, so obviously cruisers is the main problem, which is the same for all destroyers, and that's why I haven't really decided yet. But as you can see, it's pretty much a cruiser build on a French destroyer, and it works well. Like I said, I used this build in the past, a year or two ago when the ship was new, and I did fairly well in it. It's a different approach than traditional destroyer play, and you can't play really as a traditional destroyer. You have to get into those caps as the first on the team, and then just hope you'll get to cap before anyone else gets in there, which sometimes of course doesn't happen, and then you don't have smoke to stay in there and contest the cap, so you'll have to retreat. But that doesn't really matter. That's the same thing if you run a traditional destroyer build on this ship here. You don't have smoke, so it's not really going to make any difference here. And that's why I don't think an agile build on this ship here is a downside in much of any way, really.
Critical engine damage.
Sure, you'll be outspotted by most other DDs, but if you just, you know, keep in mind that your detection is 6.7 kilometers, and you just have to, well, get off the first shots when you spot another DD, well, then you'll do pretty well in the ship here. It is a different build, but I don't think there's anything like detrimental to it or anything like that. But of course, if you prefer the normal concealment builds on destroyers, you can do that too, and put one of the French DD commanders on if that's your thing. I think this build actually works pretty well because, like I said, I'm spotting all the time, and I can get around the map extremely quickly, and I can cap fairly easily if I actually get a domination match. That's always an issue, and you can still spot for your team. You just can't get within 5 kilometers of enemy ships, but you can get within 6.7 kilometers of enemy ships, and really, that's fine. I don't really see much problem in that. Alright, so that was an agile little replay for you guys, and it is the build I use on the ship here. I think I use it on the Fantastic 2, or perhaps I switch back and forth, I can't remember. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you out there.